that it's not just one-sided. So I think that having the expertise of working with people who don't necessarily agree with you, I work in a very, working in healthcare, you often have to deal with different personalities. Patients don't always want to do what you tell them to do. They don't always want to take the medication. They fight you. So you have to be able to de-escalate that situation, to figure out what the best option is, how to treat, when to treat, and how to move forward. So I think being able to have those expertise, bring that to the council with the leadership skills that I have with running multiple other organizations, I think provides me an excellent opportunity to bring that to the table. And so I think that just having that extra set of eyes, that of being able to work with a diverse group of people, not just people who look like me, sound like me, but people who I've had to go across the aisle, and you need to have that person who's willing to work no matter what. And being able to have that hard work and dedication. Again, as I mentioned before, I come from a military family, so I'm no stranger to hard work and effort and dedication and putting my head down and doing the work that needs to be done to move the city forward. So I think that that's something that I bring to the table. Thank you.
Dylan, can you comment on how your personal and professional experience will be beneficial if you're elected to the City Council?
As I mentioned before, my education, civil engineering, environmental engineering, and an MBA in finance. And the experience, all the way from the civil, environmental to the small business owner. And community involvement, serving on 10 different committees and organizations within the Johns Creek. I've been on both sides of the table. So any decision that has to be made for the city, I can look at from 5 different aspects. Financial aspect, I have an MBA in finance. From the business point of view, okay, what would it make a business sense? Like, is there an ROI on that? If it comes to the stormwater, I can even add that element into that one. So my education, experience, leadership skills, community involvement would make me an ideal council member to make informed decisions and also work with the city staff to guide them and provide whatever the support they need. I may not be expert of a particular topic, but I've been there, done that. Most of the situation that's currently on the play, like the town center, stormwater, parks and recreation. I serve on the park and recreation committee. So I can add a positive input onto, okay, what should go into the Collie Creek? Okay, what is the next steps on the park side? So my community involvement, education experience, and overall involvement in the community, being your resident for the Johns Creek, in the Johns Creek for 21 years, I definitely know what the residents are looking for and what needs to happen for the city of Johns Creek and how we can take it forward, protecting the current character of Johns Creek and preparing it for the future. Thank you.
Okay, moving now to the Convention of Visitors Bureau. The Johns Creek Convention of Visitors Bureau has been the topic of conversation lately. It appears to be an open violation of the Sunshine Laws and has stated publicly that the law does not apply to them. Based upon this, do you support continuing the relationship with the Johns Creek CVB, or would you support bringing this in-house and putting it under the control of the Johns Creek Economic Development Director?
Again, bringing in-house, putting too much onto the economic development manager. So I know that if we watch the city council meetings in the last few meetings, yes, they are going back and looking at the contract and adding few terms into the contract to see if that's going to be acceptable on the both sides. If it is, and if the partnership is working and they're doing what they're supposed to do, we should continue. Again, the meetings has to be open because it's the taxpayers' money. The 7% hotel motel tax that we are collecting, 2/3 of that is going to the CVB. So it's a taxpayers' money going to the CVB. So if you bring it in-house, again, we have to hire employees, and that's going to dip into that bucket. Everything that's happening on the CVB is a volunteer work, maybe a part-time employee. So we are getting the expert opinions from the industry, from the hotel side. So we need to try to work with the CVB and come on a mutual agreement where the city and the CVB can agree on that. And the meetings, like the Sunshine Law, so I haven't looked into in depth, but the meetings has to be open. Everyone should be able to go back and attend and it has to be transparent because it's a taxpayer's money. At the end of the day, if the partnership is working fine, let's continue. If not, bringing in-house is going to be the bigger task. Our economic development director, we don't have one. We need to hire, and we can't put too much into the bucket for him. Let him focus on bringing more businesses into Johns Creek. Let the CVB focus on tourism side and see if they can provide the service that the city of Johns Creek and the residents are looking for. Thank you.
Okay, Lee. The Johns Creek Convention and Visitors Bureau has been a topic of conversation lately. It appears to be an open violation of the Sunshine Laws and has stated publicly that the law does not apply to them. Based upon this, do you support continuing the relationship with the Johns Creek CVB, or would you support bringing this in-house and putting it under the control of the Johns Creek Economic Development Director?
So first, I would say that at this point, I definitely would say let's try to salvage the relationship. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think when things go awry, we need to, I wouldn't say reprimand, but we need to say, look, here are the stipulations, here are the things that we want, and then go from there. Because I don't feel like at this point, we don't even have an economic development person. So to put that extra responsibility on them at this point, somebody who's not even here yet, because this contract is, we're dealing with this currently right now. And so what I wouldn't want to do is drop that in the lap of somebody brand new who hasn't even gotten their feet under them yet. Give them an opportunity to kind of get their bearings before we throw a huge task on them. And so I would say if there's an opportunity for us to rebuild and repair that relationship with a few stipulations in the contract and update it, then let's do that. But I don't feel like at this current time that that's probably in the best interest of us financially, and then to put that type of burden on somebody brand new that we haven't even searched and found out yet, because I would hope that we would do a national search and be able to find the best possible person for this solution, that we're not putting them at a disadvantage by giving them a whole new division to also run on top of what they already have to do anyway. So at this current state, I would say let's try to salvage the relationship. But again, if they're not up for the task, then find someone else who is. There are other people who will partner with us. And so, you know, there are tons of people looking for work right now. And so, you know, if people want to work, then give it to someone else. So we can partner with other people. But I don't think bringing it in-house is the best solution at this particular juncture.
Okay, there's a bit of a preamble for this one. The city of Johns Creek has the largest amount of the Chattahoochee River running through any North Fulton city. We have numerous older subdivisions and golf courses adjacent to the Hooch, which means we have a responsibility to enforce MERPA, the Metropolitan River Protection Act. How should the City of Johns Creek work with the Atlanta Regional Commission to require education around the requirements of MERPA?
So I think what we have to do again is to get educated. You know, we got to work with our partners. We got to work with our neighboring communities as well. But I think as it relates to the Chattahoochee, one, we have to make sure that we are informed and what we need to bring to the table. So I think that the council needs to be informed on that, but as well as the businesses that come around it, the HOAs. So if there's a commission that does all of that, for them to come talk to the HOAs and talk about what we need to do to preserve the Chattahoochee and all the things that go along with what they want to teach, then that's an opportunity for us to have that as an avenue. So I think we continue to work with our partners, our local sister cities, and all of us kind of work together, because the Chattahoochee runs through a lot of cities, not just Johns Creek. So how are we partnering with all of our neighboring cities to make sure that we're all on the same page? Because what they do affects us and what we do affects them. And so we need to all be on the same page, and everybody needs to have a seat at the table and come up with the best possible solution with what we need to do to move forward. And sometimes that is training, and sometimes that is just getting the understanding of what needs to happen. And if certain things don't happen, what the consequences of that looks like. And so I think we just need to make sure that we have a seat at the table and have an understanding of what's at stake. Thank you.
Okay, Dylan. The city of Johns Creek has the largest amount of the Chattahoochee River running through any North Fulton city. We have numerous older subdivisions and golf courses adjacent to the Hooch, which means we have a responsibility to enforce MERPA, the Metropolitan River Protection Act. How should the City of Johns Creek work with the Atlanta Regional Commission to require education around the requirements of MERPA?
That's a good question too. Because while serving on the Artery Mill Nature Preserve Board, we bring in like the DNRs and other departments to come back and have a table in there, educate the residents, provide them what information they need. And we also work with one of the board members who goes back and on a regular basis check the water quality, like the pH, oxygen levels, and suspended solids. So we check those things, like the streams that's feeding into the river. So yes, we should work with them and work on more programs, like even not just leave everything to them. Even some of these non-profit organizations, we should partner with them and provide those tables and educational programs that would reach out to more residents within the city of Johns Creek.
Okay, this is going to be the last question before we do the 5-minute wrap-up. What is the biggest difference between you and your opponent?
I'm not sure if it's a tough question or the easy question. I'm a resident of Johns Creek for 21 years. I'm involved in the community. When I say community, city of Johns Creek. I serve on multiple boards. I have the education, experience, the knowledge, and the understanding from the residents, what they really need. I can represent the views and the needs of the residents of Johns Creek. Yes, my opponent coming forward to serve the community is the biggest step. But it would have been nice to get involved in the city of Johns Creek, serve on few committees, get to know the residents, then come back and put in the hat saying that, okay, let me serve. Rather than just registering to vote and within a week come back and say, I want to run for the council. So I would encourage every one of the residents to get involved in the community, get to know what is happening in there, what is our residents' views. So we wouldn't really know until we get involved in the community, organizations. I know everyone has a limited time. I understand. Not all the board members are required to spend so much time. So executive board members, yes, we do end up spending a little bit more time, but you could be involved in the board. Or even as a volunteer, please do get involved in the community. We need that before you come back and say, I want to serve you. So we need that commitment. So this is a huge difference between me and my opponent. Thank you.
Okay, Lee, what is the biggest difference between you and your opponent?
I would say our biggest difference is that we choose to serve the community differently. He chooses to spend his time on every single committee. I choose to spend mine in the trenches with the people. And so I don't think that we need to all decide how it looks. Because at the end of the day, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of this, that not everybody can get on a committee. They only have like 5 or 10 or even 20 spots for some of those. So there are 85,000 people in the city. Not everybody's going to be able to get on the committee. And, I think it was, Mr. Bradbury who actually mentioned that sometimes you can't get on those committees because if you're not friends with the right people or you're not on the hot list, you don't get picked. And so if you don't get picked, how are you ever supposed to get involved with the committees if you're not one of the chosen people? And so a lot of times, and look, I get it, I'm not going to be one of the chosen ones. I got a big mouth. So, and so that makes me public enemy number one. But be that as it may, I think we choose to serve the community differently. Again, he chooses committees, and that's great. I've been on committees. But I think that for me, I'd rather spend the time knocking on doors, talking to voters, finding out what's important to them. Because I feel like when you do that, you don't have to go figure out all this other stuff because you know what's happening because you're in the trenches with the people. So you know what the needs are. You don't have to sit in the ivory tower to determine what that looks like. You do that from talking to people. You do that by walking and talking with the community, being at the parks, talking to the people. And so if you just spend that time in the trenches, we can all serve differently, and that's okay. And you don't have to live in this community for 100,000 years in order to serve it, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. And I think all of us need to be commended for even taking the opportunity to want to run for office, because it takes time and effort. And I'm not new to this. I may be new to this community, but I've worked here for over 18 years. And so I haven't lived here for as long as some of the other people, but I promise you I will serve it with all that I have. And so I promise you that I have the dedication, the passion, and the energy to do it like no one else.
Okay, so just before we do the wrap up, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. This is the 4th session that we've done. So So huge thanks to Tom, who really took the initiative to arrange all this. It's a massive effort and a lot of coordination. So thank you very much. We're going to give each candidate 5 minutes each to wrap up, and then Tom will close out with where you can watch the video and things. Dilip, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Medlock Region residents, for taking time to come and listen to the candidates' views and the plans for the city of Johns Creek. City of Johns Creek has a lot of current needs and projects in the pipeline. Town center, stormwater, parks, and transportation projects. City needs a council member who can start on the day one. They don't want the council member to learn on the job. They want somebody who can take off on the day one, keep the projects moving. And a council member who has a path to the correctness, who has an integrity, and who works towards the unification. A council member who is not here to take control of Johns Creek like Atlanta or South Fulton, who is not here to move the funds from North Fulton schools to South Fulton schools, who is not here to flip Johns Creek into a different color. So we are here, a council member is here to represent the views of the residents of Johns Creek, betterment of the Johns Creek. So my experience in the construction, environmental engineering, small business owner, leadership, and the finance would help me make a right decision for the city and keep the taxes low and create an environment for the small business owners where we can streamline, have a common repository where all the information that's needed for the small business is going to be there, and streamline the process for registration, compliance, and any other information they would need. I would work towards making Johns Creek business friendly, bring in more businesses into Johns Creek. Again, State Farm moved out. Okay? Macy's, they have a different plans. So we need to create an environment where the bigger corporations would also consider Johns Creek. Start working on having some incubation centers where that would bring in a new talent into that one, and that would attract the bigger corporations. And at the same time, work with some universities where they can have a satellite campus. We don't have anything. GSU is in Alpharetta. So let's work on like few aspects, bringing in more businesses and making an environment friendly so that the bigger corporations or the smaller businesses that are looking to move into any part of the North Fulton or anywhere in Georgia, they should look at us. So, as I said, my education, experience, background, community involvement would make me a candidate that would work, keep the projects moving, and get the work done in the next 4 years, because we only have the 4 years. It's a contract job. So if you see that we're not performing, you have an option to vote us out in 4 years. So I'm there to serve. I've been doing that one, and I will be there to serve the residents of Johns Creek and the city of Johns Creek. That's the only thing on my mind, city of Johns Creek and the betterment of city of Johns Creek. Protect the schools, public safety, and we are the diverse community. So these three elements make us the richest city and the safest city in the country. So it's the richest city in Georgia and the safest, one of the safest in the country. So let's work on protecting that even before coming into that and creating anything that's going to take us back a few years. There's a reason why Johns Creek is formed. So let's make sure we protect that very same character of Johns Creek before doing anything else. I won't come back and change anything in the current scenario. Protect that one, property values. Our assets are about more than $11 billion worth. That's one of the reasons we are richest. So let's protect that asset value and build on it to increase our property values. Once we put in the town center, that would have a direct impact on our property values, and it's going to go up. So I would work to protect the current character and prepare it for the future so that our next generations can come back and live with us in Johns Creek. Thank you.
And Leah, final wrap-up, thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Tom, and for putting this on. It's been an amazing event. I thank you for taking the time out to do this because it does really inform the community about what's going on. And so for those of you who came in late, my name is LaWanna Hurd Tucker. Everybody calls me Lee. And I am excited to be here, guys. I want to serve you. I want to serve this community. And I don't believe that we need to keep telling residents that you have to be here 100 years in order to serve. Because again, what that paints is a picture that it's an exclusive group that only certain people can be involved in. And what's the cutoff? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How long do you have to be here? Last I checked, I was a tax-paying member of this community, and I want to serve it. And that's all I'm asking is for an opportunity to serve the community that I love. And so, and let me also be very clear, crystal as a matter of fact, that we're not talking about taking money from North Fulton and moving it to South Fulton. Because again, that's not even on our job description. That is something that's done by the school board. And so that's not even something that we handle. So, but we got to prepare, and we have to have a council that is not trying to be involved in group think. And so everybody that thinks alike, that's how we got in the exact same situation we're in now, where we're stagnant. So either we, at this point, either we continue to move the city forward and progress, but we're not. We have to pivot, and now is the time. And groupthink isn't going to get us there. I'm here to serve the community. It's always been about service and not self-interest with me. I've never run for every single committee because I was running for office. And again, people talk about the committees that they're on, but how many of those committees did they join after they ran for office and lost the first time? And so think about that, is that I'm not running for every single position that's out there just to build my resume. I've got a really good one by itself. And so it stands and speaks for itself. And so I don't need to build up myself and my resume to make myself boisterous. I stand on its own. And so I think that it's very important that we have a community, a council that is willing to work and give every single community a seat at the table. And I think that's what's important. That's how we bring the people together. You know, one of the reasons why I moved to this community in the first place is because I wanted my daughter to be exposed to some things that are different than what she was seeing already. At home, we speak Chinese. We speak Spanish at home, and our progress and our plan is to have 5 languages by 5th grade. And the reason why we picked here was because we speak all those languages. And so Korean we're learning, we're getting ready to learn Hindu. And so all that is part of what we teach at home. But I wanted her to see it here in a community that she had the opportunity to go speak with other people who speak Chinese as their first language. So she had that opportunity, which Johns Creek provides. We're learning Korean. So again, a community that she can go and talk and be immersed in. Again, Spanish, we have all those communities right here in one particular place. And so, yes, it is the best place, in my opinion, to live, work, and raise a family. But we have got to pivot. It is time to pivot. We have got to move the city forward. We have to do that with people who are willing to stand up and fight for you. And I hope if you took nothing from this conversation today, but I'm a fighter. I'm willing to fight for your rights. I'm willing to fight for the things that you want and to move the city forward. I'm not going to bow down and bend to the things that we don't want, but I think as a community, we have to stand together with fortitude and be able to move us forward. But we do that with the people who want to stand up for your opportunities, for the things that move this city forward. And whatever it is that you guys want to fight for, whether that be town center, arts venue, I'll be your voice. I'll stand up and say, they want it. We have to find a way to fight for it and get it for them. And so I will be your voice. I'll be your bulldog with lipstick to go in there on council meetings and make sure that we take down whatever it is that is fighting to keep the city from moving forward. So I promise you that I hope over the next couple of weeks to earn your support, your prayers, and of course your vote. My name is LaWanna Hurd Tucker. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate all of you coming tonight. It is you people who make this a great event. And I really appreciate the fact that we get email questions. We also get written questions. And we deal with it as best we can. And having some decorum. And having a conversation. To just give a historical perspective, Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas that had 7 different debates. The shortest one was 3 hours. So the fact that we got 2 hours, I think is incredible because it's limited time that we have And how do we know what's going on? That's why we have the video. You can go on to the YouTube channel that we created, MB Debate Series, and tomorrow we'll have uploaded this, like tonight, so you can review it, or anything that you missed, and you can share it with your friends. And I thank all of the representatives who were willing to participate, give us their time, so that we can be informed, make a decision. Now your job is to go out and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.